Debate on public debt and its management continues to rage on, with the National Treasury hard pressed to strike a balance between high debt and interest repayments on one hand and its budget comprising both recurrent and development expenditure on the other. The latest battlefront is the determination of the debt ceiling, which is currently set at 10 trillion shillings.
Not asking for you to approve. I just wanted an understanding.
But the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Departmental Committee on Public Debt and Privatization, as well as the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, put the CS to task on a higher debt ceiling, arguing that the government is already having challenges such as delayed salaries for civil servants.
Last month, there was a statement from Treasury that salary for civil servant was delayed because there are some debts which were repaid. So to me, in a layman perspective, from the whatever figure we were at that time, we are supposed to go down.
To this, CS Njoguna said the salary shortfalls was a result of the maturity of short-term bonds.
We have business cycles, and we can also see political cycles, and somehow political cycles can actually coordinate business cycles. Why am I saying that? You started by saying salaries are delayed because of debt payments. When you're anticipating elections to come in this country or even countries in this region, nobody wants to borrow long, everybody wants to borrow short. You can see that everybody was camping for 91 days treasury bill. So after 1 year, when the elections are resolved, then you find lumping up maturities. By the time you adjust yourself, you have to face this kind of liquidity issues.
The CS making revelations on the little room left for government to borrow, with the latest data indicating that the national debt has hit an all-time high of 9.4 trillion shillings, leaving room for only 600 billion shillings. This, the CS says, is limiting as the government is yet to exhaust its borrowing for the current financial year, let alone the 720 billion shillings that it will need for the 2023-2024 budget.
So you cannot say we cannot form future policies because we are already having liquidity crisis. No, the world is not coming to an end. It's a continuous process of refining ourselves.
Despite the CS's pleas with the committees, MPs felt that a change in calculation of the debt ceiling from 10 trillion shillings to 55% of the GDP would have no impact, intimating the Treasury can easily doctor the figures.
A GDP figure can always change. The one in the morning, there can be a different one in the afternoon, and the time we are having dinner, then a different one would have come out. So the flexibility of having a GDP that is, the figure comes out, no one is very clear about actually who comes out with these GDP figures. I think that is where the problem and the jitters could be.
I don't understand why you are recommending a 55% ceiling, yet you've indicated that we are at 62.1, and I know the government is busy at the moment trying to borrow, and if you're going to borrow another 600 billion to be within the 10 trillion, this will take our debt, present value of debt to GDP to almost over 70%. And still you are proposing a 55% of GDP.
The CS, however, maintained that the calculation of the GDP is not the sole preserve of the National Treasury.
We are not manipulating the GDP. How would we manipulate the GDP? You can go to the World Bank, it is there. Type IMF and type Kenya's GDP and how it is computed.
Jasmine Murani for KTN News.